Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Nicole Russo. Welcome to Spa Babies. And our Spa Baby race for Saturday, July the 15th, is a good one. The Grade 3 $175,000 Sanford for 2-year-olds going 3/4 of a mile. Let's take a look at this field. We have a very deserving odds-on morning line favorite, the number 9 Gold Sweep, 3-5 on our colleague David Aragonda's morning line, a giant 91 buyer speed figure in winning the Tremont.
Yeah, and to put that speed figure in perspective, we talk about an 80 sort of being a benchmark figure for 2-year-olds at any point in the season, and this horse has already run a 91. I mean, he could bounce off that, but even if he were to bounce, even if he were to regress 10 or 12 points, he would still be far and away the tops in this field on speed figures.
He just seems like a very mature, precocious 2-year-old. He's not speed crazy, doesn't need the lead to win. The Timeform US Pace Projector has him settled just off of the early lead with horses like the number 3 Dickens, as well as the number 2 Jive and the number 10 Market Street, all expected to set the pace. So if Gold Sweep breaks, I would expect him, Nicole, to take up shop on the outside while in the clear.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very well drawn there to get a good trip off of that pace. This race could have a hot pace. The prevailing speed is drawn toward the inside, and there are plenty who would like to be sitting just off or coming from off of that pace.
A horse that showed immense professionalism in his career debut is the number 1 Call the Cavalry, who won this race at Belmont on June the 4th. Not too many 2-year-olds like to rally through tight openings along the inside. It didn't faze Call the Cavalry in the slightest. He shoots on through and he's on his way.
Yeah, very professional, very game, and I think those qualities will serve him well since he has drawn on the inside here. Plenty of precocity in the family. Kozan, one of Florida's leading sires, does very well with his 2-year-olds, and Delightful Mary, who you see there in the immediate family, a good 2-year-old herself, a summertime maiden winner, and later on transferred her form from synthetic to dirt to finish 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
The number 2 Jive was a debut winner going 5/8 of a mile at Gulfstream Park. We'll watch this maiden special weight, and he showed good speed to get right up close to the pace. He made the lead, and he grinds it out in game fashion. From the first crop of St. Patrick's Day, what can we expect from the St. Patrick's Day progeny?
2 winners so far from the first crop of St. Patrick's Day, who is standing in Florida, and he has every right to throw good 2-year-old form. He's a full brother to American Pharoah, who of course was a champion 2-year-old before he went on to win the Triple Crown, now a leading young sire. St. Patrick's Day was a Del Mar summer maiden winner himself at 2, defeating horses like Instilled Regard and Blended Citizen in a pretty strong heat. Went on to be Group 3, placed at 3 on the turf in Ireland. I expect his runners to be versatile. And you will note there that Jive was a vet scratch the last time he was entered. He fell against the back wall of his saddling stall in the paddock for the Tremont. Emerged from that with no serious injury, was back on the work tab the following week, and has had a steady work pattern into this.
It was the best of times for the number 3 Dickens, who scored in this Florida-bred maiden, going 4.5 at Gulfstream Park. Another one that showed pretty nice early speed, prompted the pace, made the lead, took off in the stretch. We don't have a buyer speed figure for Dickens, but the Timeform US speed rating came back pretty strong, a 95.
Yeah, came back strong, and I like that in kind of the early battle, he has landed outside of Jive there. I think he showed some professionalism on debut, and if Jive really wants to run off with it, I think Dickens might be able to, show some nice foot and sit right off of him.
Little stamina in the pedigree as well bodes well for him as he stretches out from 4.5 to 6. The number 4 is Yo-Yo Candy, who is well beaten by the favorite Gold Sweep in the Tremont last time out, a debut winner at Parks prior. He's going to get blinkers for the first time, and maybe that will help him make up a few lengths on the chalk.
Perhaps, and obviously he was well beaten last time out, as was everybody by Gold Sweep. But if you look at Yo-Yo Candy's performance kind of in a vacuum, just on its own merits, he really ran well, I think, in the Tremont. He moved up from a buyer perspective from his maiden win to the race at Belmont while adding some distance. Certainly could expect him to take another step forward here.
He's a Cal-bred son of Dancing Candy with some speed in the female family. The 5 is Factor You and Me In, a Pennsylvania bred that won a 2-furlong race. We get to see the whole race here on Spa Babies. Horse breaking from the far outside. Factor You and Me In showed sharp early speed, never gave this field a chance. He was entered at public auction right after this race, and he sold for $100 grand.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see a horse show up in a 2-year-old sale like that with prior racing experience. It's not something you usually see. Usually you're working off of the Breeze Show performances, and Factor You and Me In had a little bit more of a resume under his belt to sell for $100,000 for Clovis Crane. And being by the Factor, this Pennsylvania bred, I think he's got a lot of speed, a lot of good 2-year-old ability in the family.
He has speed, he gets blinkers, he gets an aggressive rider in Kendrick Carmouche, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Factor You and Me In is a pace factor in the Sanford. Ramming Speed's hoping for a fast pace up front. This horse has raced twice in his career over the Tapeta surface at Presque Isle Downs. He's a half-brother to the multiple stakes place Driven to Compete. I think the pedigree is versatile enough that he'll handle dirt. Now he just needs to take a step forward as he's facing tougher competition.
Absolutely needs to take a step forward. But, I do like, if you're looking for positive things about him, that he's one of a couple in this field with 2 starts already under his belt. I think that should help some of these from a fitness perspective as everybody goes 6 furlongs for the first time.
Trainer Barb Minchell does a very good job with her horses, and the 7 Triple Tray was a nice-looking debut winner over the Tapeta at Woodbine. This is a pretty strong effort for a first-time starter, rallying from the inside on the turn, angling out into the clear. Still has a lot of work to do at about the 8th pole, and is going to mow these horses down on the outside. Rock-solid effort.
A really solid effort. And, another one who I think will appreciate some added distance and a hot pace to rally into, a very respectable buyer. We have one outlier, obviously, in this field, but he stacks up very well against the rest with his 63, beat a next out winner, came out of it to work really well. I like when 2-year-olds debut and then come out of the race working strongly. It shows the light bulbs going on. And this colt being a May foal, there could be some more development there for this son of last year's leading freshman sire, Bolt d'Oro. And I don't think Barbara Minchell would ship this one away from Woodbine, where there are plenty of stakes options for 2-year-olds, to Saratoga, unless she felt well about him.
Luis Saez takes them out on Triple Tray. Javier Castellano will ride the 8, his rights, who won this race at Parks, going 4.5 furlongs. He broke from the far outside post, and he is 6 wide swinging into the stretch, and that ground loss didn't bother his rights. He's able to right the ship, and he's able to run these horses down once he changed leads. It looks like he's a horse that's still learning a little bit, but he's well-bred, and heck, if the pace is fast enough, maybe he can come up for a piece at a price.
Absolutely. And this crop of 2-year-olds by constitution, I want to highlight because this is an angle I like. These were the 2-year-olds conceived in 2020 after Constitution's very good freshman season in 2019, after people started getting a look at what that stallion could produce. This is expected to be a good group of horses for him this year. They sold well at the yearling sales last year. So this is an angle I'll be watching a little bit throughout the 2-year-old season.
Although beaten in his career debut at Churchill Downs, the 9 Gold Sweep earned a very strong 75 buyer speed figure, and based on that, he was odds-on in the Tremont, and he won like an odds-on shot should. He pressed the pace 3 wide, and you're going to see the best part of the race right here. Jose Ortiz is just going to drop his hands for a second, and boom! Gold Sweep explodes away from the competition. He wins by 9 with a 91 buyer.
Yeah, and we're obviously focused on that stakes performance with a flashy number, but really Gold Sweep's maiden effort was also outstanding when he was beaten a neck by Wilson Q. That one came back to run second in the Bashford Manor in Kentucky after a bit of a troubled break. A couple of impressive next out winners have already emerged from that race, and Gold Sweep earned a 75 buyer, which even without his 91 last time out, that would put him atop this field in terms of numbers. Just a lot of back class prior to that stakes win.
Completing the field is the 10 Market Street, a debut winner for the Hall of Famer D. Wayne Lucas. Overcame a sloppy track that day. Didn't take a lot of money, was 10-1, but he showed sharp early speed from the start. He sold well as a yearling. He's got some class and speed in his family, and Market Street, I think, is just going to be hustled out of there from this far outside post.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, he handled a sloppy track at Ellis really well on debut. We're always watching the weather forecast at Saratoga with those summer storms that can pop up. And this is one who was bred to run well on a sloppy track, being by Street Sense, who can sire a good wet track horse. And with Super 99, a graded winner on a sloppy track, also in that immediate pedigree. Wayne Lucas, he and some newer clients were really bullish at the yearling sales last year, and he has a number of good-looking 2-year-olds in the barn this summer.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Spa Baby race for Saturday. We like to try to find prices in these races, but Gold Sweep just looks too good on paper. Two very strong figures, visually impressive win, nice outside post position, Hall of Fame connections. Who could ask for anything more except price?
Yeah, I just don't think you can look past Gold Sweep in this spot. And behind him is where you can get a little bit creative, perhaps with your exotics. If I were looking at the race beyond him, as I said, I think there's a lot to like about Triple Trey, a horse who is impressive on debut with a lot of upside, I think, for solid connections.
I respect Triple Trey. I think he's going to run well. I'm curious to see what we get from Dickens, the number 3, shipping up from Gulfstream. I know he only beat Florida Breds last time out. I like the way he did it, and it looks like he's got a little bit of early gas. Yo-Yo Candy gets blinkers, and while he was well beaten by the favorite last time out, maybe he can take a little bit of a step forward and crack the board at a price. 9-7-2-10 for Nicole, 9-3-4-7 for me. It's the Grade 3 Sanford, the Spa Baby race for Diana Saturday at Saratoga. Good luck.